There's a lot to be said for movies which don't over-explain every last detail and actually let the audience consider things for themselves. But at the same time, when a film presents an intriguing character to the audience with their backstory left blank, it's only natural that viewers end up begging filmmakers for an explanation. Though writers, directors, and actors will often refuse to elaborate on the precise nature of their characters, sometimes they'll mercifully offer up an explanation, be it years or even decades after the fact. I'm Gareth from WhatCulture.com, and here are 10 movie character backstories that were revealed years later. Number 10. Alfred met Thomas Wayne in the SAS, The Dark Knight Trilogy. Michael Caine's rendition of Bruce Wayne's trusty servant, Alfred Pennyworth, made his debut in 2005's Batman Begins. But it wasn't until Caine was doing the press rounds for The Dark Knight Rises in 2012 that he revealed the character's unspoken backstory. Caine confirmed that he came up with his own origin story for Alfred, which was compelling enough to receive the blessing of director Christopher Nolan himself. The backstory explains that Bruce's father, Thomas Wayne, visited the SAS base in Herefordshire to see a friend, and in the mess hall he encountered a badly wounded sergeant who was none other than Alfred. Rather than going back to fight, Alfred was appointed to oversee the sergeant's mess, which involved serving food and drinks, in turn preparing Alfred for his eventual job working for Thomas at Wayne Manor. Though it doesn't have much of an impact on the overarching story at all, it's definitely a neat sliver of background character building. Number 9. Slimer is a dead gangster. Ghostbusters. Shortly before the release of 2016's Ghostbusters reboot, writer-director Paul Feig confirmed that a written yet never shot scene for the film revealed the iconic Slimer to have been a famous gangster who was arrested and executed after angrily killing a waiter who got his order wrong. The ghostly gangster would then routinely return to the hotel where he killed the waiter and gorge on the kitchen's food supply, until one day being caught by the new Ghostbusters. The newly assembled team would then shoot him with poorly calibrated proton beams, accidentally burning his legs off, turning his skin green, and bloating his body, giving him that iconic appearance from the original films. Though fans will debate the dubious canonicity of this backstory given that the upcoming Ghostbusters Afterlife will be ignoring the 2016 movie entirely, it's honestly not a terrible idea at all, and would fit in with the series' original continuity and tone just fine. Number 8. Lambert was a transgender woman alien. The original Alien's small cast features just 2 female characters, the legendary Ellen Ripley and the Nostromo's navigator Joan Lambert. Lambert may bite it midway through the movie, but an interesting wrinkle to her story was actually slyly unveiled 7 years after Alien's release, in James Cameron's 1986 sequel Aliens. While Ripley is being debriefed after exiting stasis, the files of her deceased fellow crew members are projected behind her, including a file for Lambert which states that she was a male-to-female convert. Though in Alien's original release the text was simply too blurry to be legible, the bios have since been made available in all their glory on home video releases, confirming that Lambert was officially born male and transitioned to female later in life. Number 7. Marty met Doc after sneaking into his lab. Back to the Future. Back to the Future fans had long wondered precisely how high schooler Marty McFly and aged Professor Doc Brown came to meet one another, considering that with an age gap of around half a century while being in no way related, they're hardly the most natural of duos. Theories have persisted for years, but back in 2011, some 26 years after the original movie was released, writer-producer Bob Gale finally confirmed how Marty came to be friends with Doc. In Gale's own words, for years Marty was told that Doc Brown was dangerous, a crackpot, a lunatic. So being a red-blooded American teenage boy aged 13 or 14, he decided to find out just why this guy was so dangerous. Marty snuck into Doc's lab and was fascinated by all the cool stuff that was there. When Doc found him there, he was delighted to find that Marty thought he was cool and accepted him for what he was. Both of them were the black sheep in their respective environments. Doc gave Marty a part-time job to help with experiments, tend to the lab, tend to the dog, etc., and that's the origin of their relationship. So there it is. As a rebellious young teen, Marty sneaked into Doc's lab, and Doc, a lonely scientist viewed as a pariah by many, embraced him rather than send him away. Simple, but quite sweet in its own way. Number 6. The peddler was the genie all along. along, Aladdin. The peddler is a minor yet incredibly memorable character who appears at the start of Disney's animated Aladdin to effectively introduce the story. For literally decades, fans both young and old have theorized that the character was actually the genie in disguise. Above all else, the theory was supported by both characters being voiced by Robin Williams, and just how much sense it made for the story to be kicked off by the genie himself. In 2015, some 23 years after the film's release, its directors Ron Clements and John Musker confirmed to E! News that the peddler has in fact been the genie all along. Clements said, "That's true, that was the whole intention originally. We even had that at the end of the movie, where he would reveal himself to be the genie. And of course, Robin did the voice of the peddler. Just through story changes and some editing, we lost the reveal at the end." Better still, an animatic of the film's original ending even found its way online in 2017, which confirms beyond any doubt that the peddler was indeed the genie. Number 5, the Joker was abducted by a perverted clown as a child. Batman 1966. The Joker is one of the most iconic villains in all of pop culture, and his origin stories have varied wildly throughout his history, from overly explanatory to intentionally vague. One of the less explored Joker backstories, however, must surely be that of Cesar Romero's iteration of the character, which he played in both the 1960s Batman TV series and the 1966 Batman movie. But at the 2011 San Diego Comic-Con, some unexpected answers were provided during a panel entitled "Is the Joker a Psychopath? You Decide." The psychologists on the panel were joined by not only the Joker's co-creator Jerry Robinson, but also the Caped Crusader himself, Adam West, who offered up his own unique version of the Joker's origin story. West said, "I did a little backstory in my head for Joker. I reasoned the insanity, whatever you want to call his psychopathic quality. I reasoned that he was kidnapped by a perverted clown when he was a youngster. Though you can certainly argue this is nothing more than speculation on West's part, the fact that Robinson himself followed up with an approving, 'Yeah, that'd do it,' is likely enough in most fans' minds to seal it as more or less canon." Number 4, Creighton Duke's girlfriend was killed by Jason. Jason Goes to Hell: The Final Friday. Few would dare to try argue that the 9th Friday the 13th movie, Jason Goes to Hell, is among the better entries into the franchise. But it is boosted considerably by the presence of Creighton Duke, a bounty hunter hell-bent on sending Jason to the great beyond. Ever since the movie's 1993 release, fans have speculated on Duke's mysterious backstory, and quite what brought him to this place. And so in late 2017, writer-director Adam Marcus finally put fans out of their misery by confirming his beef with Jason. Marcus said, "Here's what happened. A teenage Creighton was out on Crystal Lake with his girlfriend. Jason capsized their small boat and pulled the girl down into the lake. Creighton tried to save her, but could not. She was never seen again. Creighton vowed revenge, and from that moment on, he spent his life in the study and pursuit of Jason. He became a bounty hunter just to fund his work in taking down his nemesis." That's the story. It certainly lends some sympathetic shade to his character and explains some of his more, let's call them, eccentric tendencies, that's for sure. Number 3, Stan Lee is the Watcher's informant, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Stan Lee's persistent cameo presence in the MCU as a fleet of wildly diverse characters eventually prompted fans to speculate that Lee could in fact be playing a single character, assuming a multitude of guises while covertly surveilling Earth. In particular, fans favored that he was an extraterrestrial observer from the Marvel Comics known as Uatu, the Watcher. Though Lee ultimately didn't end up playing Uatu, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 finally lifted the veil on Lee's role in the MCU, by revealing him to be an informant to the Watchers who mentions his time on Earth as a FedEx delivery man, in reference to his Captain America Civil War cameo. While this didn't explicitly detail the reasons for Lee's informant's character observing Earth, MCU producer Kevin Feige later confirmed beyond any doubt that the character's backstory was exactly as it was implied. He said, "Stan Lee clearly exists above and apart from the reality of all the films. So the notion that he could be sitting there on a cosmic pit stop during the jump gate sequence in Guardians was something very fun. It wasn't in for a long time, and we put it back in towards the end of the process, where he references that time he was a Federal Express agent. We thought it would be fun to put that in there because that really says, so wait a minute, he's this same character who's popped up in all these films." This is an especially fun backstory reveal because it recontextualizes every single MCU movie in a slight but entertaining way. Number 2, the Gimp is a kidnapped hitchhiker. Pulp Fiction. Though Pulp Fiction's Gimp may be an extremely minor character in the grand scheme of the film's puzzle-like narrative, the ambiguous nature of the character has nevertheless made him a subject of enormous curiosity among Tarantino fans. The mystery of his origins endured for over 25 years, before earlier this year Tarantino finally buckled and revealed quite how a leather-clad man came to be hanging out in the basement of murderous redneck rapist Maynard. The director said, "In terms of backstory, he was like a hitchhiker or somebody that they picked up 7 years ago, and they trained him so he's the perfect victim. So it doesn't sound terribly likely that the Gimp is a willing participant in what happens in that basement. He's more likely a victim of abuse and suffering from Stockholm Syndrome." Yikes. Number 1. Hannibal Lecter accidentally ate his own sister. Hannibal Rising. Anthony Hopkins' delicious Oscar-winning performance as Hannibal Lecter in 1991's The Silence of the Lambs immediately cemented the character as one of the most iconic and bone-chilling villains in the history of cinema. Yet another 15 years passed before audiences were fully clued in on the precise nature of how Lecter became a cannibal, as was finally revealed in Thomas Harris's 2006 prequel novel Hannibal Rising. But first, the 1999 novel Hannibal revealed that while living in Lithuania during World War II, Hannibal's younger sister Misha was captured by a group of Nazi collaborators, killed, and then eaten. Hannibal Rising then expands upon this, with the leader of the collaborators, Vladis Grutas, revealing to an older Hannibal that he also unknowingly consumed some of his sister's remains in a broth, effectively setting him on his murderous cannibalistic path in later life. Though many have taken umbrage with Harris over-explaining Lecter's origins over the years, it's nothing if not an appropriately disturbing rationale for his dining habits. And that's our list. Know of any other movie character backstories that were revealed years later? Let us know in the comment section below, and do not forget to like, share, click on that subscribe button, and ring the bell while you're there. Also, be sure to head on over to whatculture.com and click on some more awesome articles just like the one this video is based on. I've been Gareth from whatculture.com. Thank you very much for watching today, and I'm sure I'll see you very, very soon.